Meredith Gorman here, and are you still not subscribed to Matt's channel? Well, if you're not, hit the subscribe button because he's giving out free picks each and every week. Hope you have a good rest of your day.
We are back, guys. UFC 316 back in New Jersey. O'Malley versus Merab 2, the rematch. Last time O'Malley was here, he had that KO over Sterling. Let's see if New Jersey is very kind to him a second time around. I'll break down the fight. Also, the main card, like always, guys. Provide free picks, leans, price talk, value, lines, and more. Systemsportscapping.com or link.me/systemcapping. Support me and get my personal plays for this card, all cards, currently handicapping PGA as well, and the NHL at low volume. 13-2 pay-per-view client card run is on the line. Average line plus money. Like this video, guys, if you're still watching on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple listeners, please rate and share. It is much appreciated. UFC Vegas 107 recap. It was a shit show of a card for the UFC, right? From a card standpoint, main event got called minutes before the fight, right? We knew Barber had some issues. I mentioned in the podcast, guys. She had some illness issues prior to the fight. Her weight cut. That's why I always say wait till you see the weight cut. If you saw the Barber weight cut, are you going to be betting Barber? No, right? So always wait for weight cuts before you make your final bets for the card. And you can kind of say, I'm not going to say I expected it because it went all the way up to the fight. You usually see it way before the walkout, right? You usually see this hours at the latest hours. Usually it's the day before or earlier in the morning. This was at the end. This was like they were about to walk out. So it's rare. You know, you've seen it, but it's rare. So tough loss for the UFC. Apparently Dana White gave everyone in attendance free power slap tickets. Who wants that, right? No one wants power slap tickets. So yeah, tough for the UFC there. Good for me personally. The card is a 2-0 card, client card. I only bet on one fight, 2 bets on the fight. Gamrot to win money line and Gamrot by decision. So we were able to hit on both. These smaller cards that usually don't have a ton of volume. Pay-per-view cards, there are a lot more volume. I'll have at least probably 4 bets for this card this week. So yeah, Gamrot, just what I expected. I mentioned in the podcast too, so if you guys listened, hopefully you did tail. It was just going to be the clear path with the wrestling, and that's what he showed, right? Klein hasn't faced anyone close to Gamrot's caliber of wrestling. It wasn't even close. Now, some people probably got fooled by the 91, 92% takedown defense for Klein, but it's because he only fought strikers. So you got to understand his resume, right? And Gamrot's fought the best of the best in this division. Klein proved not to be one of those guys. Just going to be a, guy hovering around the top 15 type of fighter, Klein. Gamrot proved to have the skill set to beat him, and the skill set was the wrestling. Big month of June ahead, guys. Starting with this card. It's a good card. Not the best card I've ever seen on pay-per-view, but there's some good fights. We'll talk about them shortly. But big fights in June. Can't wait to break those down for you guys all this month. It is a packed month of fights. So let's shop around, guys. Shop around. Let's get into the card. Shop around. Have multiple sports books. I can't stress that enough. Have access to multiple sports books to get the best price out there. UFC lines vary as some of the most, right? If you're betting NBA, NHL, NFL, they don't vary as much. Now, different books will have different props available and stuff like that, but lines in the NFL and NHL, they're not a huge difference, right? For example, 0.5. Like, so let's say Edmonton Oilers minus 120. You can probably find them minus 125 somewhere in a better price on Florida, etc., right? But they're not going to vary too much. UFC, they do. So definitely shop around. Let's get into the main event here. Merab minus 300 versus O'Malley plus 240. Of course, I don't love the matchup for Sean. You want to see Sean fighting a striker and not a guy that will just wrestle and try to wear you out. However, I love the price. There's definitely value at plus 240, right? I also love what Sean has been doing as of late after the loss, right? No socials. Had a kid living in a quiet middle of nowhere place in Arizona and just training, really focusing in for this fight. I believe this is going to be the best version that we see of him. Is it going to be enough to beat Merab? That was the big question, right? When we look at the numbers from the first fight, Sean, what I love to see, it was a closer fight than most people thought, right? Yes, Miro clearly won 3 rounds. Some could argue, say 4. But what was impressive, Sean won round 5. And that's usually where Merab loves to take advantage. Merab loves to take advantage of the 5th round and wearing his opponents down. But Sean showed his cardio was right up there, right? He hurt Merab in the 5th round as well with that T kick right to the stomach, right? Maybe he's going to work in some more body shots this time around. It'll be interesting to see. But I like to see that from Sean. I like to see that it wasn't a cardio issue, right? Even though he's coming into that fight not 100%, we all know he had that hip surgery after the fight. So I do expect Sean to be the best he's have. That's my opinion. The best he's ever have been, in my opinion. It's just, yes, Merab's so difficult to fight. So difficult to fight, right? Is anything really going to change? Is he going to be able to avoid the takedowns? That's going to be the question of this fight, right? There's no secret about it. If Merab tries to stand and bang a little too long, that's what Sean wants, right? Merab says, I can stand with this guy, right? He stand with Umar, look good at times. Now, I do have Sean as a better striker over Umar, but what concerned me is, and what's hard for me to just love Sean here, it's just more of a value price on Sean. But Merab was able to handle Umar in the wrestling department, right? So why is Sean going to be able to take him down, right? Sean's going to have to play the distance game. He's going to have to not get too close to him and try to play his game. He wasn't be able to do it enough in that first fight. So I just don't know how much will change in that period of time off. What was it, 6 months, 7, 8 months, around that time? I don't think it was a full year since that fight. So how much is it going to change? That is just hard to see that, yeah, Sean's just going to avoid all the takedowns. Now, it's hard to say that, right, and be confident about that. You cannot, right? 61% takedown defense in Sean's career just isn't exciting. Not excited about it, right? Will Sean be able to use the distance and control the fight? Going to be the big question here, right? Can he catch Merab with the big shot, right? Like he did in the 5th round. He caught him, but it was just too late. It was too late. I would like to see Sean work the body more, work with some more kicks to keep that range and distance for him to have a shot in this fight, right? But Merab, right? Not a guy you want to bet against. Right, not a guy left to bet against. 11-fight win streak, guys. 92 takedowns landed, most in the UFC. Most control time in bantamweight history. I can go on and on and on with this guy. And he's now ranked the number 4 pound for pound fighter in the world, guys. Not a guy you want to bet against. Nightmare to fight, right? Nightmare to fight. I just see some value with Sean because I do expect to see the best out of him. This is going to be the best we've ever seen him, in my opinion. Is it enough to beat Merab? That's the big question. Right? That's going to be the big question. And I don't know how much, obviously he's been training takedown defense probably for the last 8 months or whatever, how long it's been. But will it be enough? Right? Will it be enough for Merab not to be able to close the distance and just take him down like he did in the first fight? Now, I thought Sean did some good work getting up at times. Merab wasn't able to control him completely, even though he did in a couple rounds, if I recall. But that fight was a lot closer than a lot of people think, guys. It was a lot closer than a lot of people think. I had it scored 3-2, Merab. But clearly Merab won the fight, in my opinion. But it wasn't like he dominated Sean for 5 rounds, because that didn't happen. So I'm excited for the rematch. Sometimes it's tough to get up for a rematch. Merab, is he going to be coming in a little overconfident in this fight? That a lot of questions. A lot of questions here. So value on Sean O'Malley, if I do bet it, it's going to be for a smaller unit. I haven't got there yet. I love to see another fight that goes most likely to decision, guys. Let's be honest here. It could go over in the rounds as well. If there is a finish, I got to see it becoming late, right? Fourth, fifth round. Unless somehow Sean just catches him like he did with Sterling. It is possible. Just lower odds. We haven't seen it from Merab, right? For a long time. So most likely this will go to decision. Value here on this price with Sean. Pena plus 500 versus Kayla Harrison minus 700, guys. This is an interesting fight. The biggest test yet for Harrison. Let's be honest here. And it's very rare you see a champion plus 500. Right? From an educated assumption, this is probably the biggest price champion we've seen. That's just a guess. I'm sure there has been in the past, but nothing I can think of as of late. This is wild. Plus 500 on Pena. So yes, there's value at plus 500 on Pena. Am I going to bet Pena? Can I get there? No. I do believe Kayla wins this fight, but at minus 700, very difficult to bet. Right? I see the clear path for Kayla. If you look at her, she looked jacked. Obviously watched the weigh-ins in this. She got to get down to 135. Very difficult for her to get down to 135. But I just expect her to be too strong, too heavy on top, and just win either TKO or submission, ground and pound. It's possible Pena could survive and go to decision. It is possible. She's very tough. It is 5 rounds, though. Keep that in mind. But I could see a Kayla TKO or submission, right? Pena has been submitted twice in the UFC. Kayla has 7 submissions. So keep that in mind. You can't bet the minus 700 money line, so you got to get creative. And all outcomes are plus money. But yeah, you're taking a shot, right? Like I mentioned, Pena's tough, scrappy, it could go decision plus 200. It's very appealing, right? You're that minus 700 is turning into plus 200 if you can guess the correct outcome pretty much, right? TKO KO plus 275. Now she's not going to knock her out on the feet, but she could get a ground and pound TKO finish. Control her, mount her on the ground, and finish her via ground and pound. Very possible as well, plus 275. And in submissions live as well at plus 160. So it's difficult. Now, that's also why the minus 700, because the outcomes, there's all 3 of those could happen that I just mentioned. So if you want to take a shot there, that's what I suggest. Try to find an outcome here. I'm not in the business of betting minus 700. You can't even fit into a 2-5 parlay. My 2-5 parlays, I hit it at a very high percentage. It's just very difficult to fit her into a 2-5 parlay. Unless you like someone in the minus 100s, right? It's not going to help it too much, but, I'm going to try to find an outcome here. I expect the fight to go deep into the fight. And if it does go deep into the fight, I think that's where Pena becomes somewhat live. 4th, 5th round. How is Harrison going to look in the 4th, 5th round with all that muscle and all that cutting weight? That's where Pena, if she could survive the first 2, 3 rounds, she becomes live, guys. Start looking at that live betting. If you see a crazy price on Pena, maybe worth a small unit shot. So definitely watch this fight. Definitely watch the weigh-ins before you make any bets on this fight. See how they come in. I expect both to make weight. It's a huge fight. But if this gets into 4th and 5th, get that live button ready for Pena if you're getting, because Harrison's probably most likely going to win 1, 2, 3. But does she gas out in the 4th and 5th? We'll see. We'll see, right? Let's see if Harrison could finish and find that submission or TKO finish, ground and pound, before it gets to those fights. Very possible she can. Right? Pena's been taken down in all her fights. Her takedown defense is poor. If someone tries to take her down, they have success. Pennington didn't try. Very confusing why she did not try. That's the game plan to beat her. So, yes, Pena could be crafty off her back, but she's not submitting Harrison. So, let's be honest there. So, yeah, interesting one here, guys. The bet is Harrison for podcast purposes, but you got to get creative. So, I can't tell you exactly how she's going to win, right? The market's telling you they don't even know, plus 200, plus 275, plus 160 on all 3 of the outcomes. So get creative, decide on how it's going to make my client card in some aspect here. Haven't made up my mind yet. I gotta watch the weigh-ins for this fight. Excited to see this fight. But like I mentioned, Pena is live if it gets deeper into the fight. Pfeiffer minus 400 versus Gaslam plus 310. Another big line here, right? That's the story for the first three fights. Big lines. Um, I don't warrant minus 400 ever. Not ever, let's say, but against a veteran like Gaslam, and Pfeiffer has shown he has a weakness on his cardio. Now it's 3 rounds. I don't expect him to gas out in 3 rounds. But obviously later the fight goes, Pfeiffer does slow down. We've seen it multiple times now. I do believe Pfeiffer wins this fight, though. Just a big price. How do you bet him at minus 400, right? Can you sneak into a 2-fight parlay if you like a slight favorite? Yeah, you could. And I do believe it's difficult to call an outcome here, right? We know how tough and durable Gaslam is. So I could see Pfeiffer winning by decision. But we could also see Pfeiffer catching Gaslam, hurting him, maybe jumping on a submission when he hurts him. Something like that along those lines, right? Kelvin, I think he's towards the end of his career, 1-3 in his last 4 fights. I believe his best days are behind him. Remember, this fight was scheduled a while back in Mexico City. Pfeiffer got sick from food. He called out the city. Not a good look for him, right? He called out Mexico. Yeah, sure, got some maybe coming in there with a little revenge on his mind due to those call outs, but I just don't think he's better anywhere. I think he's going to have a hard time getting in on Pfeiffer. Pfeiffer has a great jab. I think Pfeiffer will be able to control the distance there. Tough for me to get the Gaslam, even though the price at 310, sure, there's slight value there. I have Pfeiffer more of a 3-1 favorite, right? So he's still a big favorite in my eyes. It's just minus 400 is very difficult to get to when Pfeiffer does have a few concerns I'm worried about that we've seen in fights before, right? So it doesn't warrant for me paying a minus 400 price. Like I mentioned, if I do bet that price, it has to be in a 2-fight parlay to get a better price. An outcome difficult here. We could see a late finish. We could see a decision. So if you can get a good price on the decision, maybe worth a look. We saw how tough Gaslam is. Very tough to put away. So I wouldn't be surprised if this goes all 3 rounds. Pachi Mix minus 175 versus Batista plus 150. Mix making his debut. Right, he's Bellator champion before. We're seeing a lot of these Bellator fighters come over, guys, trying to make that big transition to fight the best in the world now. And, Pitbull attempted it, didn't look good against Yair. Yair was able to control him in years. Yair is a top 5 guy in the division. This for Mix he's not going right into the deep end. He's going to the middle, right? So I do believe this is a very winnable fight for him. I do believe he's a better grappler, wrestler. Can he get the fight down to the ground? That's going to be the big question here, right? I think Batista's probably a little better on the feet, right? But I believe this is a fairly good matchup for Pachi Mix. I've been watching a lot of his interviews. He feels very confident he can get this fight down to the ground, get into his world. He's coming into this division as one of the best grapplers already. It's his debut fight. Very good grappler, very good submission artist. But Batista has some solid grappling as well, some good wrestling. Batista's very well-rounded, right? He's getting a lot of hate, obviously, from that Aldo fight. I'm sure you guys saw that. Not a good look for him. Now, it's a good look because he has a win over Aldo on his resume. So when you go look at his resume, you see a win over Aldo. Ooh, now it's at the end of Aldo's career, so that's a little knock. But if you watch the fight, how he did it, not impressive. He just held Aldo against the cage. Now, you could say, don't get held up against the cage. I agree. Mix not going to get held up against the cage. If anything, Mix will be doing that to Batista, in my opinion. All right, so I am going to lean Mix here, minus 175. I haven't bet it as of yet. I do like the over 2.5 rounds. That may make my client card in some aspect. Maybe Mix by decision to improve the price. I'm not running to the window to bet Mix on his debut against a tough guy in Batista at minus 175 in a straight bet. Not running the window for that. But if I can find a decision, is there a possible submission live? Yeah. Mix could get it. It's just, is he going to have success getting the takedowns? That's going to be the big question here. I can't tell you that. But I do believe that's his path. Get the fight down to the ground, use his grappling. Is he going to be able to find the submission window? That'll be the question, right? But over 2.5 rounds is going to be my favorite play in this fight. Fight goes the distance. It could be a look as well. But yeah, I'm going to lean Mix here. I know there is some people talking about the Batista win plus 150. I don't mind it. I think he's live to win the fight. Very good fighter. But I just believe Mix has that grappling advantage. Hopefully he can get the fight down to the ground. If he's not able to get the fight down to the ground, it's going to be like a split decision, ugly fight. That could go either way. Kevin Holland, last fight we'll talk about here. Minus 275 versus Luque, plus 225. Yes, a lot of value on this card. Lots of value, right? Who's running the window bet Kevin Holland minus 275? I'm never betting Kevin Holland as a favorite in most scenarios and most fights, guys. Just can't do it. I just can't bet him at minus 275. Even though I'm slightly leaning his way. But that's a very slight. Like, I have this fight as like Holland minus 125. I don't see it. Now, I get the striking advantage should be there. The distance management, Holland should be able to use his jab. Luque comes in reckless. He could get caught, right? We know Luque's chin at times is questionable. Is Luque going to be able to get the fight down to the ground? He's going to be... That's what he needs to do. The game plan needs to spam takedowns to try to get the fight down to the ground. We saw Luque coming off a nice win over Garimbo. A lot of hype around him. Just showed that he's not close to the level. Garimbo's not... His grappling's not up there, not ready to fight. Is Luque going to be able to do that again? Right, Holland's coming off a nice win over Gunnar Nelson. Gunnar Nelson looked terrible. And Holland didn't look great in that fight either, let's be honest. Gunnar Nelson had like 9 minutes of control time. Right, remember, Kevin Holland's takedown defense, 54%, guys. It's not good. That's the path to beat him. You don't want to stand. He actually has power on the feet, sneaky power on the feet, nice jab, and long. You don't want to be standing and banging with this guy. It's dangerous, especially for a guy like Luque. Luque is going to want to try to get this fight down to the ground. Is he going to be able to, right? We know Luque is not some sort of great wrestler. He doesn't have great takedown accuracy. So that will be interesting to see how this fight plays out. Is Luque just going to go in there and stand and bang? We've seen that before from him, right? So that's why you're seeing this plus money, plus 225. I get it if you're going to take a shot with Luque. If I had a gun in my head and I had to bet this fight, that's the only way I could look. Is Luque plus 225 due to the value, and it would be for a smaller unit. But I'm not getting involved in this fight. I can definitely see this fight finding a finish at some point and not going all 3 rounds. The way it goes 3 rounds is Luque has success with takedowns or controlling Holland, and it's like more of a boring style fight, and Luque's not able to find a submission. Kevin Holland has decent defense, and Luque wins that way by decision. Very possible. If Kevin Holland wins this fight, I believe it's due to him catching Luque and probably winning in a finish style fight, and that would mean Luque brought the fight. Luque didn't fight 100% smart. So that's live here. Tough fight to call. I'm just saying at this price, Kevin Holland minus 275, I will never back Kevin Holland at this price. You just can't. He's very unpredictable. Not a guy you want to be betting. Not a guy that you have on your betting analysis or, spreadsheet saying, yes, Kevin Holland, when he's fighting, you want to bet him as a favorite. I'm not in the business of betting Kevin Holland as a favorite. Fun one, though. And it's a fun card, guys. I'm excited for this card. A couple other good fights on the prelims as well. I do have a couple bets on the prelims that'll be sent out to clients after the weigh-ins. Back on pay-per-view, we love the pay-per-view cards. Hopefully you guys enjoy the card. Like I always say, guys, bet smart and know your limits. Enjoy this card.